Well, fundamentally, some people are somehow infatuated by this idea that we are living the end of times. They fear that greatly, but they also secretly love it. I don't know, probably because it makes them feel important. There is some kind of mystical connection there somehow, even if they are not mystical at all. There is something there. Actually, sociologically speaking, this phenomenon is called millennialism. That has nothing to do with millennials. Is the belief that our generation is living the end of the world,
Right.
the end of time.
Yeah.
And it's been like that pretty much every generation. Somehow believe that this is a very strange psychological and sociological mechanism that people activate. And I think the main reason is because, yes, it makes them feel important somehow. Something that it's very weird.
I find, but I think the internet, social media, the connection, the ease with which people can say stuff means that I would say more than ever in the history of people, people are grouping together and polarizing and taking a position on whatever the subject is, because it's so easy now. If you put stuff on Twitter or on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and then you gain followers and you create groups and you create consensus within your group. That's what seems to be happening now more and more with social media, with the internet. That's never, I mean, you said it several times, the internet was never predicted. So from a psychological point of view, what we've got over the last 10, 20 years of internet and connection is I don't know, it just seems to be having a strange effect on everyone. And we've talked about polarization before. How easy people become polarized. Right and wrong, black or white, or whatever it is. And I don't know. It just seems to be escalating. And funny what you just said about how every generation seems to think that this is the end of the world. Or there's some people that think that, because I was listening to a podcast earlier today. It's an American guy called Joe Rogan, and he interviews all sorts of people from America and the UK. And he was interviewing a guy called Eddie Izzard. He's a comedian, an English comedian. And this English comedian said he's going to go into politics. And when he was asked, well, what's your main thing? What's your message? What are you going to be arguing about? And he said, well, I'm going to be saying how we've got 80 years to either save ourselves on this planet or not. So this guy's taking it to that extreme of actually running for office, going into politics, and talking about literally this end of days, and we need to do something about it. And he'll have lots of people that follow him and vote for him, obviously, because there are lots of people that are, like you say, enjoy the disaster aspect of it. So I don't know. There's a lot of polarization going on, and I wonder how it affects us as individuals, like at home, with our families, and then we go out into the world, and how it affects us there. I wonder whether the huge scale on which people are polarizing themselves through the internet, whether that's affecting us as individuals as well. Because I've been trying to be mindful not to do that. Consciously thinking, all right, don't just take a position on something, actually rationalize, tread carefully. I'm not sure where the line is between me actually being attentive to being just agreeable, because attentive means thinking and being agreeable means not thinking. It's two very clearly different behaviors. So I don't know. That's kind of a question that's been rolling around in my head for a few weeks. Because it's been quite a few weeks now, a couple of months even, that I've been consciously making an effort to be attentive, but I don't want that just to be agreeable and be passive, and because that's going to cause more problems as well.
Yeah. But it depends. But this matter of agreeableness, I think, is very important because it's what it is also what makes us form opinions and then stick to those opinions. We are not only agreeable to other people or what we will call the common sense, that is very typical, but we are also agreeable towards our own ideas.
Yeah,
it's an inside job, sort of, and often is actually bad because we don't have only the tribal, the cultural common sense. So we also have our own subjective common sense, or the system of what we think is right or wrong or moral or amoral or whatever. And we definitely, if we are attentive, indeed, we can easily find ourselves being agreeable to that without. That is not even a form of thinking. Actually, it's more a form of agreeing, even indirectly, with our structure of personal subjective common sense, and then also the outward, the outside common sense. That is definitely a problem. For example, talking about the common sense, I mean, what we call common sense, and most people are agreeable, but they don't really question. They don't even question why they are agreeable with that. For example, if we can pick any kind of sensitive topic like respect, we can run a survey, ask people, do you value respect? Do you think it is important? And we can be pretty sure most people will say yes.
Yeah.
But they don't understand. We tricked them. We almost fooled them because we failed deliberately to identify the premises and the subjects. For example, respect about what? It's really about, we can fool people easily this way by using a meme meaning, let's say a meaning, knowing that is a strong part of the current common sense, and knowing they will be agreeable about that, and therefore we can easily predict how they will answer. Most of them, if not all of them, they will say, "Oh yeah, respect is very important." Okay.
Yeah.
And what about if I support pedophilia? Should you respect me? Maybe, or Nazism? You just say you answered yes. So why are you changing your mind now?
Yeah.
Why? The proper answer is because you were not attentive enough, sufficiently attentive about the question, the structure of the question. You didn't eventually take your time to reason, even a bunch of seconds. And most importantly, you didn't ask, you didn't approach the question with another question. For example, what do you mean by that, really? What do you mean by respect? I mean, very rarely. Well, some people do that, but it's pretty rare. And conventionally speaking, the average person wants just to support. We can provide plenty of examples. For example, another example can be, do you think love is the answer? What do you think people will say? Oh, wow, yeah, of course. All we need is love. Well, but wait a minute. Love is a pretty vague term. What about if there's love for Allah? Or love for the Quran? Or love for
Satan?
Satan? Or actually, Satan is the good guy. Because, so those... I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, being agreeable is always bad. And no, I mean, is actually good in many cases. Like such as, for example, particularly when there are roles, that we accept, and we try to stick to those roles. Like that's how our society works.
Yeah.
So if the cop wants me to pull over, I will pull over. So I have to be agreeable about that. Otherwise, well, we know what is going to happen. So why would I do that? If the same cop pulls me over 3 times in a row within an hour, and the cop recognizes that it's the same car, the same person, same citizen, I don't know. I will presume I will pull over, but then I will ask the cop, why are you doing this? Do you have something personal with me? But that is usually not the case. So the problem with being agreeable is not agreeableness in itself, it's the magnitude of attentiveness we apply there.
Yeah.
Usually we don't apply any attentiveness.
But the position I'm in is my objective, my action, what I'm trying to achieve is to behave or react or respond or interact as a result of what's the best way of saying it? Of being impartial, of not having my reactions or responses be through the filter of a preconception or an idea or a role or a pattern or an old habit. It's almost like I'm trying to start at the beginning and be neutral, so that allows the space to be rational and respond to whatever the situation is based on the information, the data, the context, that particular moment, those particular people, rather than responding through history and without thinking and just having all of that contaminate my responses. It's not easy. It's very easy to automatically reply and respond to something, particularly if you're not being attentive. Say I'm in the middle of watching a movie. It's very easy to not do it. But what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to do consciously is to tread slowly and carefully with my responses, so that it's actually healthier, right? But what I don't want is and I understand what your point. So you're saying being agreeable is fine, as long as you've got to that point of being agreeable through a process of some sort of attentiveness, of thought, of consideration, whatever. So but what I guess my concern is, am I finding that agreeableness means a peaceful life, and therefore I'm going towards agreeableness more quickly than I should, because that's what's comfortable. And again, that movement towards something that's comfortable rather than going through the thinking process. So yeah.
Yeah, but actually you say something very important. You mentioned our psychological history.
Yeah.
That is what constitutes the overwhelming majority of what we will call the self.
Yeah.
That is basically a structure of our experiences, our memories, the way we remember memories, the way we interface memories.
Yeah.
And what we all call our past, and what we assimilated, what we embraced, and what we rejected. Now, that psychological history, that is what I will call the self, is a part of what we are fundamentally, and that should not go. That is a part of our identity too. But it's also a problem. And that is what I will call the private common sense. I personally find very frustrating, but it's not their fault. When people, for example, when I'm talking about something and something complex eventually, and people say very quickly usually, oh, but that never happened to me. Or they say the opposite. But that happened to me. Failing to understand that your personal experience is irrelevant in order to understand the complexity of certain things. Just because it never happened to you, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't provide evidence of something. So I should change my approach to something, or or I should just shut up because that happened to you. I find that very frustrating. I repeat, it's not their fault. Well, not entirely. It's not my fault. But what I find frustrating is not them frustrating me, but it's profound lack of proper reasoning because we are not trained that way, and lack of attentiveness. Because, for example, if we are talking about I don't know, very sensitive topics, like, for example, how often women emotionally abuse men or other women, and then eventually the man reacts violently, which is definitely not justifiable, of course, but it is somehow understandable because, wanting always the last word, that is eventually not enough.
Yeah.
We are animals after all. You can push a person, push and push and push, and then what you expect that is going to happen, really? Some kind of aggressive reaction, because a person eventually temporarily loses his or her mind dramatically. And I repeat, it's not justifiable. I think a person should, I think people should manage themselves properly or the best they can. But nevertheless, that can happen.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about this stuff, we try to stick to the reality of things, eventually also providing the facts. People that somehow disagree with that, they do disagree not only because they have strong beliefs, strong ideas about the subject, but also because they apply their past.
Because
so, for example,
because they are what? Sorry, the line cut out. They are what? Sorry.
It's not only because they have a strong beliefs or ideas about the subject, or maybe they are feminist eventually, or ideological or whatever. But it's also because they apply their personal experience. And for example, if we debate about a subject like this that is very delicate, there will be people prone to say, but no, that is not true, because I never abused somebody emotionally. Well, good for you, assuming that is true. But your personal experience and your personal virtue, reporting that doesn't invalidate the point, because it does happen, and we have the numbers.
Yeah.
For example, a very controversial topic that should not be controversial at all. How many people are prone to believe that people get shot in the US by cops are mainly black people? That is not true. Actually, they are mainly white people.
Why do many people believe that? Is it the reporting, the media, the narrative?
Because when a black person gets shot, then it stimulates more the matter of racism.
Yeah.
But very, very, maybe not very unlikely. Sometimes it's about racism. That is some kind of drive there, unfortunately. But often it's not. But that definitely triggers the attention more than a white person that got shot because of whatever crime or no crime eventually. But statistically speaking, we do have the numbers. The numbers are there. They are. We can access the numbers. There is not a secret. I think that I will identify two problems there, and one is definitely an educational problem, meaning all this stuff is not in education. It's not a training, and the other problem is more private, personal life. That even if we had, as I will hope to see in the future, a part of education based on valuing these very important points, that doesn't necessarily mean then privately the person sticks to that. Because an educational training is not necessarily a personal training. They should go together, but usually that's not the case, and that's exactly why critical thinking is a lost cause, unfortunately, because it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
In academia, the scholars that study critical thinking eventually for years, apparently only 2% can even just say precisely what critical thinking is all about. Only the definition, the long definition, only the 2%. So what is the percentage of people, those people that actually apply critical thinking in their daily life? Probably, I don't know, 0.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that there are plenty of people who believe that the society can change individuals. I don't believe that at all. I think society can shape individuals, hopefully for the better. I don't deny that. But if we believe that society can provide a radical and critical change for the better within each person's individual behavioral psychology, I think believing that is very delusional, because it never happened, actually. I think the opposite can potentially work. Like if individuals really care about changing the structure of their thinking for the better, by starting from not with delusions like being good and stuff like that, but trying to identify the problematic parts of their thinking, and then trying to drop progressively them, then eventually some of those people will become educators and policymakers eventually, and that will change the structure of society too. Probably soon enough we will have assistant robots or computer machines that will help us with AI. Yeah, there are companies that are already working on that. There is this prototype developed by IBM. It's called the robot debater, something like that.
Right.
And the purpose of this machine is to actually assist the people to correct their arguments throughout the debate.
Really?
I think it's just wonderful. Yeah. You can find some videos and stuff. I think it's just wonderful. Imagine if a machine like that will be in every single classroom, correcting the teacher when the teacher approaches something, eventually saying something that is a little bit fallacious or it makes no sense at all. It's wonderful because nobody can approach the machine with an dominant fallacy, for example, attacking the speaker instead of approaching the arguments.
Yeah.
Because it's a machine.
Oh my God.
I think, well, probably some people will do that, but I think very unlikely people will be prone to say, "Oh, why are you so arrogant? You want to be superior? I'm just a machine."
Yeah.
I'm not even allowed.
It's funny because again on this podcast I was listening to, they were talking about AI as well, and what might be invented in the not too distant future, and kind of similar, which is they were talking about what it would be like if something was invented whereby you can immediately tell that someone is lying, and how that would change political debate, for example. When you have politicians on TV doing live debates, what they can and can't say, and how it will just affect everything. And it's not that. I mean, we have lie detector machines already. They've been around for a long time. So to take the step to have something that informs you if somebody is talking to you and they are lying, that's not that million miles away, and how much it would change everything. Just that simple thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that will be wonderful. I think we should push that. I mean, investing in that technology and then the necessary policy making about that. I think is very super important, particularly these days. But another important thing is to really predict the best we can what the future will bring, the soon future actually, since we haven't predicted the internet. Uh, and there are many things that will well, we cannot say that for sure, but will most certainly happen. And all of those things will have pros and cons.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that computers will become actually biological. So we won't have in the future the typical idea of the cyborg kind of robot going around making noise. But future robots will be more like synthetic, organic but synthetic.
Yeah. Like in Aliens.
Yeah. Something as a flesh and some kind of eventually liquid as blood, but it's not blood. It's more like a kind of cybernetic solution of nanotechnologies.
You're literally describing Aliens.
Oh yeah. Well, that is. I mean, there are indications that seem to validate this prediction.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter much. What does matter is that predicting all this stuff is not only predicting for the sake of predicting and speculating because it's cool. I think it's a very good gym for the brain, and most importantly, is what helps us to highlight how much we think in terms of what we know.
Right.
Which is okay, but it's not 100% okay.
Yeah.
Because often is what prevents us from improving our thinking, our life, and everything. I mean, we've been thinking in terms of what we knew pretty much forever until pretty much more or less 500 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's why we never had science before. and because probably a bunch of people came up with those propositions, and maybe we should not only think in terms of what we know. Maybe we should theorize. We should learn how to theorize instead of forming assumptions. So, for example, a person that behaves in a crazy way and looks like a demon, wait a minute, maybe that person is not necessarily possessed by a demon, but maybe there is something else we don't quite understand yet. And then we understood that is many things actually, unfortunately, psychosis or neuroticism or some kind of mental illness. That was revolutionary.
So when you said we've not had science for that long, so science is relatively new to us as a species, basically. You know, we've only had it for a few hundred years.
Yeah.
So
but science is, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, so this is what I'm kind of interested in. You know, the internet is brand new; it's only been around for 20 years. How is that affecting us? But even when you say something like, you know, the study of science and what we've learned as a species over the last 100, 200 years, the advances in medicine and technology and everything. Would it be fair to say that the amount of change on us over the last, I don't know, 200-300 years is the biggest amount of change on us since we've been around? Because if it is, then there's going to be knock-on effects psychologically on us and how we're behaving and what we're doing. I mean, it's safer now than it's ever been. You know, there's more and more developed countries in the world, for example. Healthcare and people are living longer and nutrition and that kind of stuff. So there's lots of positive things, I guess. but psychologically, we're having to deal with things that we've never had to before, and that must be that must be significant on us, I would say.
Well, particularly in the last century, actually throughout the last century, particularly the last 50 years, actually, the progress, the scientific progress has been not exponential, but definitely almost skyrocketing, sort of.
Yeah.
In many fields, like medicine and pretty much everything, really. Unfortunately, not really quite much in terms of space exploration. That is a shame, actually. But that's because it's super expensive. But in pretty much all fields, the transportations, the medical field, education, of course, and chemistry. For example, the products we have today. I mean, if you enter like a shop that sells the stuff for the house, how would you call it, like hardware shop?
Yeah.
And you want to find some lights. Now they have lights with the LEDs.
Yeah.
It's mainly LED.
Yeah.
That are way more efficient, way more economic, and also aesthetically sort of better.
Yeah.
We never had the stuff only 10 years ago. They were not there. They were just a light bulb.
Yeah.
So how many things we will come across with unpredictably in the shops, even only 5 years from now?
Yeah.
That is definitely wonderful. But the point is that the science, everything has to do with science, is completely unnatural. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's actually good.
Yeah.
It's just completely unnatural, which means that most of the things we are doing today are unnatural. They don't match the Darwinian evolution that made us.
Right.
It's actually good because we definitely have to become, and we are trying to do that, we have to become an anti-Darwinian species. That is absolutely good. We don't want to be a Darwinian species.
Why not?
Because that would be like living with the law of the jungle.
Right. Yeah.
So we are slowly kind of escaping Darwinian evolution, and that's the only chance we have. If there are aliens there, alien civilizations, they've done exactly the same in order to survive. There is no other way. We cannot pretend to remain the way we are, stuck in the same planet for another thousands of years.
Yeah.
So we are trying to escape the Darwinian evolution, and that is good, but we have to be incredibly careful about that. Now, we are already cyborgs, by the way. We depend almost of our technological devices. We have all the plates.
Yeah.
Just because they are not integrated in our body, and in some cases that they are with surgery, for example, we are cyborgs. Being cyborgs is anti-Darwinian.
Oh, yeah.
Building laws that are based on valuing human rights, equality, equity, freedom, free speech, all of the stuff has nothing to do with the Darwinian evolution at all.
No.
And it's good. It's good. We don't have to forget how Darwinian evolution works, of course. But the problem. Fundamentally, what I'm trying to say is that almost everything we are doing today is unnatural. The houses where we live, we modify the atmosphere to make our environment more comfortable.
Yeah.
We don't want to live with when it's too cold, when it's too hot.
Yeah.
we modify the water, what we eat. It is unnatural to fly. It's unnatural to drive a car. It's unnatural to do what we are doing right now because you're not here.
Yeah, and we're talking to each other. It's true, actually, isn't it? There's so much stuff. That's an interesting way of putting it, that we're moving away from being Darwinian creatures. I mean,
Yes,
that's that, and it's the way you describe all those things. It's exactly that. None of this is natural evolution. Being able to talk to you in another, however many miles away you are, is completely unnatural.
yeah. Some people will say, but it's a matter of ignorance. Some people will say we are fighting Darwinian evolution. We are playing God. All that rhetoric there. Well, that is not true. We are not trying to fight Darwinian evolution. We are trying to make it better. And fundamentally, what the human species is trying to do, in a way or another, and hopefully we will succeed, we are trying to shift Darwinian evolution that is about, fundamentally is about adaptation, to another form of evolution that is about, that is based, hopefully, on intellect and betterment.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely good, because we don't want, for example, the more ignorant people are, the more Darwinian they are, such as not just tribalistic, but prone to kill with no sense of morality,
Yeah.
no compassion, no sense of morality whatsoever. If you go somewhere in the favelas in Brazil, people are prone to kill just if you go around with a banana.
Yeah.
They don't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
That is definitely Darwinian. But
Yeah.
of course, they are criminals. They have to be punished. But the punishment is not Darwinian. Is mimetic. Is based on meanings and morality, and it's okay. Still unnatural. In Darwinian terms, they do that because they try to survive, no matter what. They don't want to hear about morality. They're going to die.
Yeah.
And many people in the world are in analogous situations. So the more educated we are, and the more sophisticated our thinking skills are, and advanced, the less Darwinian we get. And that is what we are trying to do. Not everybody, but unfortunately, a small percentage of people in the world are trying to do that. And in order to do that, science is obviously required, because it plays a large part. So I'm saying all of this because there is a problem there. None of these things are problems, but the problem is that what are we doing psychologically in order to evolve for the better, not evolve in order to adapt? Well, the answer to this question is, well, we are doing pretty much almost nothing. because we are agreeable, we tend to be agreeable to the various social modifications and variations through time, because we want to adapt. We don't want to be left behind. So we have to learn how to use new technologies and all this sort of stuff. People that refuse to do that, in a matter of 10 years, they will be really left behind, dramatically. So, but fundamentally, what I'm trying to say, in psychological terms, we tend more to adapt. That is Darwinian.
Yeah.
Despite we adapt to things that are unnatural, doesn't matter. That brain propensity to adapt is totally Darwinian, because we want to survive.
Yeah.
So the problem is also in terms of artificial intelligence and the evolution of it. If the world, particularly the technological world, will get better and better and better in terms of evolution, but human beings will remain just more or less prone to adapt to that evolution, then obviously we can see and we can predict the discrepancy, the gap between the human thinking and everything else, particularly artificial thinking, will become bigger and bigger and bigger. It's already happening right now. So not many people are predicting this, really. I think it's a terrible mistake. I think so to summarize this in simple terms, in a simplistic form, the world we are building is an anti-Darwinian world and reality that is based on very quick progressive betterment, evolutionary betterment. The way we reason, doesn't quite follow the same line. So if we put this like a graphic on a chalkboard per se, we can track the curvature, the curve of the human reality, the betterment of human reality that goes up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
And then we can track the curve of our psychological betterment that is pretty much, more or less the same line. Despite it seems that our IQ increases 1 or 2 points every generation, but that is enough. It's only the IQ.
It's kind of worrying, isn't it? Because we're doing all this new stuff, but all we're worried about is well, you said it yourself. Don't be left behind, because the opposite of not being left behind is you're part of the group, you're part of the consensus, you've got the latest iPhone, and you don't care how much it costs. What's most important is that you have it. So what do you have? You have a device that does more things, but you've obtained it blindly to be part of the group, to keep up with the neighbors, and so you've got something better. So there's evolution there. You in theory you've got a better phone, for example, but you've got there so super fast, and not because you've really thought about how this is a better thing for you to have and therefore you're having it. The reason you have it is not because of betterment, it's because of all the other things, being part of the right group and having the right fashion and all that stuff. It's it's a bit crazy. Yeah, this does interest me, because we as a species have been on this planet for so long, and and the last however years, 50, 100, 200 years, so much stuff is happening, and it's interesting what you say, that what have we been doing psychologically with all of this, and not very much is the answer. We've just allowed it to just pile up on top of us, and we've not questioned anything.
So that's, to me personally speaking, I'm not really prone to see something, to believe in something catastrophic, really, because in a way or another we manage to find solutions eventually here and there. But to me, this is a serious problem, and I will even say that is what will most likely be the top one problem in the next couple of decades, at least. Even more problematic than climate change, global warming, and all sort of stuff.
What, the fact that we have got so many new toys every single day, more and more new things, at the rate of which we're developing and discovering and making things faster and shinier. That's what you're referring to, right?
Yeah. And specifically the gap between the linearity of human thinking and the increase and for the better of the evolutionary betterment of everything else that has to do with the human reality, and particularly artificial thinking. And particularly when artificial intelligence powered machines will go quantum, that gap I'm talking about will skyrocket. When quantum computing will merge with AI, probably pretty soon, that will definitely go exponential, and we will probably achieve what is known as the Singularity event, which refers to the coming into being of artificial consciousness.
Blimey, you've blown my mind.
That is going to happen. Is going to happen inevitably. But I think it's good. I think it's good. I think the quality of life will increase dramatically, even in concerning manners, because there is a pretty good chance. There's actually a pretty good chance we will achieve immortality, which is not something I would support.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need other planets to, if we want to be immortal, we need other planets, not Mars.
No.
Anyway, so fundamentally going back, the point is that talking about how we weren't able to predict the internet, I think we should be capable of predicting this gap. We will, in our lifetime, we will have to go through between human thinking and everything else, that non-Darwinian human reality. And I think we should do the best we can to mitigate that gap, and that starts from a personal development in the first place, and then hopefully education too.